let's talk about Africa. Now, we've certainly talked about Africa, many times in the past, certainly at the shows and in the various podcasts. I think we've made the point many times that people talk about Africa but don't quite understand that it's actually 47 individual countries with 47 different cultures and 47 different um, uh, sort of individual challenges within those markets. So it's a sort of a bit of a misnomer talking about the African market, and we know that. But just in general, of course, moving to Dubai means that we're much more accessible, if you like, for African players, and we're certainly seeing a lot more involvement in the show from that region or that continent. Let's just talk about that for a minute because there has been really substantial growth in the MVAS sector in the last couple of years, right?
Absolutely, yeah. The African market has really come along. It's hard to put some hard and fast numbers on it. I think partly because it is such a massive, well, it's a continent, as you say, made up of 47 individual countries. So collating all the information about how much revenue is generated from MVAS across all that is nigh on impossible currently. South Africa alone generates about $17 billion. So that gives you a sort of
Yeah.
taster. But I think the thing with the African market is very much like the Middle Eastern market. It's leapfrogged into this position where suddenly there is a lot of network capacity being rolled out in urban areas. I think across all of these regions, the less urbanized places are poor in terms of connectivity, and so there is a disparity between the sort of digital haves in cities and the digital have-nots in the country. But Starlink and the likes will probably eventually change that. Um, but there has been this huge growth, and there is an emerging sort of middle class in a lot of these countries who have a bit more disposable income. Networks again are getting some government investment in rolling out 4G, 5G, even in some places. And so we've suddenly got this sort of need and want amongst the consumer base for content, services, and entertainment on their mobile. And I think part of the joy of the internet is that you do see through the ubiquity of YouTube Shorts and that anyone in any country can see what's available. And this inspires people to create their own content and content creators to generate their own businesses. And it just creates this market,
Mm.
as does international sport and domestic sport. And so it's an interesting mix across Africa of content, some of which is translatable across borders, some of it's very localized. Um, but overall, most of the countries are experiencing similar levels of growth. Some of them are stellar and really sort of roaring away, others less so. But even in places like Ethiopia, there's projected to be quite extraordinary growth in mobile services. It's tipped as one of the sort of next markets to really
Yeah.
go in Africa. So I think yes, North Africa in the MENA region is sort of inspiring. The rest of Africa is really very much catching up, and is there's a lot of opportunity there, a huge amount of opportunity. MENA is an opportunity. Africa, a phenomenal opportunity potentially once the
Yeah.
networks are rolled out.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. It's interesting that you do make a similar point with MENA in that it is going to be very important for companies like Starlink to give connectivity
Mm.
to the rural areas. I mean, ironically, we still talk about that in established markets like the UK.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
but the truth of the matter is, I think with the insatiable demand from consumers. Um, Presenting a kind of compelling case to those infrastructure companies and to those MNOs to ensure that they get those consumers connected. They know full well that once they're connected, they're going to be generating, significant revenues through, as you say, a range of classic telemedia services, everything from sport and games through to infotainment and education. And I think also in many ways, the phone is sort of usurped the television
Mm.
in these
Yeah,
kind of areas, and that handset, directly talking to a consumer
yeah.
and being able to offer them bespoke, tailored content, which is what the telemedia industry is very good at doing, along with um, you know baked in payment mechanisms. makes it a compelling case for huge amounts of focus and infrastructure investment going into all of these areas. So I can't see the numbers doing anything other than going up and going up at a
Mm.
serious rate. I mean, there's a nice kind of sort of 2 to 3% growth rate being quoted at the moment. I suspect that's going to, we're going to see even bigger numbers than that over the next couple of years. And in no small part down to aggregators, gateways, content providers, MNOs coming together at shows like World
Mm.
Telemedia and coming up with compelling propositions, putting partnerships together, and delivering billable services to consumers right the way across the regions.